Doomed. Buffy and Riley deal with their secrets while an apocalypse looms again.
We open right at the end of the previous episode, which I don't think we've seen in the show before. Buffy and Riley have just found out about each other and are struggling to address the situation, and Riley is trying, but Buffy, being her dumb self, keeps responding to each of his honest attempts with stupid jokes.
What are you?
Capricorn on the cusp of Aquarius. You?
Your speed, your strength?
Also passionate, artistic, and inquisitive.
She tries asking Riley about him, and he says he can't tell her, so she tells him everything that she learned from Spike about the secret lab.
And she starts to get mad at him for lying, but then he very clearly points out that she's been doing the exact same thing.
She finally tells him that she's the Slayer, but it turns out that he doesn't know what that means.
So, instead of explaining it, she just makes another dumb joke.
She who hangs out a lot in cemeteries?
And she says she's disappointed that he didn't turn out to be a normal guy, and they agree to take some time off to think about things.
Which is complete bullshit, because I'm sure at this point she was over the f***ing moon, because now she has an endless stream of drama to milk out of this relationship, which the show confirms by replacing their previous romantic 90s acoustic guitar music with melancholy flute.
Suddenly, Amy the Rat starts going crazy, which presages an earthquake.
Riley is very excited. I thought a little too excited.
Yeah, he's like a little boy.
But Buffy suspects something is up.
We cut to Xander's basement, where he leaves Spike to fix broken pipes while he goes to work. Willow shows up at her and Buffy's dorm and tells Buffy about an after-earthquake party, and suggests that she bring Riley. But Buffy, surprisingly, decides to go talk to Giles instead. The first time she's ever turned down a party.
She's worried about the implications of the earthquake, since last time there was a quake she died, and Giles says not to worry, and he's been doing research on the commandos. But Buffy, worried that Riley's secret will be out, keeps trying to steer the conversation back to the earthquake.
She says it might portend something apocalyptic, but Giles is overly confident that even if it does, they'll have plenty of time to figure things out.
Which is so dumb.
Yeah, and I noted that Anthony Stewart Head's voice here was weird, and I found out later that he redubbed his lines for some reason.
Oh, I was going to say, you do realize he's British. At the installation, Riley is inquiring about the Slayer, and one of his dumb friends proves that he's dumb by scoffing that the Slayer could actually exist. Which doesn't really make sense, because we've seen they have monsters that have encountered Buffy and have mentioned the Slayer by name. So why would they doubt that? And they've got a bunch of mythical demons and shit down there already. There's no way there could be a person who's really strong.
And while they're walking, a demon gets loose and grabs Riley's friend, but unfortunately, Riley manages to knock it out before it can kill him. And they mention that all the demons seem to be agitated, and it must be because earthquakes make animals go crazy.
Willow is at the earthquake party and is awkwardly walking around trying to find people to talk to, but it's not working.
And she encounters the dumb jock from high school, Percy. She tries to talk to him and his girlfriend, but it's very awkward, especially when the guy asks about Oz. And before Willow can even answer, the dumb jock's girlfriend pulls him away.
Meanwhile, some dude is prepping drinks when he's abruptly killed by a demon who just kind of popped out of nowhere.
Willow overhears the dumb jock's girlfriend asking if he was flirting with her, and she is hurt when the dumb jock says she's just an unattractive nerd.
So she walks off and ends up in the house's conservatory, where someone is playing a very sad piano in the dark.
She lies on a bed when the lights suddenly turn on, which is never explained, and she sees the dead guy lying next to her with the Illuminati symbol carved into his chest.
Someone was trying to carve a dollar bill into his chest. Xander returns home from work, which Spike very accurately describes as selling melted cheese on bread, which I like. I like that. And Xander's irritated that Spike hasn't fixed anything, and also finds out that he shrunk his clothes and had to borrow from Xander's wardrobe.
Spike tries to order Xander around, and Xander tells him he's tired of dealing with him. He says that Spike isn't even worth beating up now that he has the chance, and ends with, "I'm out of here." But it's his basement where he lives, so it didn't have the impact that it seemed like it was supposed to.
And ostensibly, Xander's mom is still in the house, right? Has she ever questioned why this weird dude is also living in her basement?
A good question. I'm sure we'll never find out.
Is there a bathroom in that basement, or does he have to go upstairs to go to the bathroom? Or do demons not go to the bathroom?
Interesting question.
Yeah, the show needs to really get on the ball.
Riley talks to his dumb friend when their other dumb friend walks in and tells them about the body. and Riley says he'll go get more info before they make any moves.
At Giles, Willow is still moping about being called a nerd and informing the gang about the Illuminati symbol, which Giles says indicates the end of the world, and not, $1.
They all lament having to deal with something like that again, but Buffy says she'll stop it. She remembers seeing the symbol on a mausoleum, and when she gets there, she finds a demon stealing a child skeleton's bones.
It knocks her down, and when she gets up, only Riley is there, not being helpful at all.
He says the demon ran off, and that he wouldn't chase after something like that by himself with no weapons, but Buffy says she would, despite how many times she has just let them get away.
Yeah, I yelled at the TV, "You liar!" at that point. She sputters out some more drama about how they can't be together because there's too much risk, and he says she's not in high school anymore and tries to get her to reconsider, but she says no before walking off. But with my highly inquisitive abilities, I suspected that this would not be the end of this drama.
We cut back and forth between Buffy and the gang and Riley and his gang, where Buffy's side is looking up the demon in a book and reading rhymes about it, and Riley's side is taking a cartoonishly analytical approach.
The gang determines the demons need 3 parts to complete their ritual, and the only thing they're missing is the word of Valios.
And Riley tells his friends about a pheromone signature left behind by the demon, and they head out to canvass the town.
Meanwhile, Spike is preparing to stake himself because he's tired of living the way he's living, when Willow and Xander walk in right before he can commit the act, which was pretty funny.
Xander offers to kill Spike for him, but Willow says they can't do that because they know Spike. Spike corrects the character that used to be the smart one, saying he'd kill her if he could, and asks,
"Am I even remotely scary anymore?"
And the answer, unfortunately, is no. It really didn't take long for Spike to go from a major villain to comic relief, which is a really weird trajectory. I still think he's one of the best parts of the show.
I agree.
But we really need a good villain, which we haven't had this season yet.
And out of pity, Willow and Xander decide to take Spike with them to investigate the word of Valios. During Buffy's search, she runs into Riley, and he tries to convince her to pursue a relationship, saying she only looks at the doom and gloom of each situation, which is not true. She cracks jokes about very serious things pretty much all the time. She only looks at doom and gloom for relationship stuff, so she can extract the maximum amount of drama. Riley keeps pushing, and it starts to get pretty forceful, but Buffy turns him down again, and he walks off. But with my highly inquisitive abilities, I suspected that this would not be the end of this drama.
Willow, Xander, and Spike exit a museum where they were looking for the word of Valios, but they didn't find anything. Spike says at least the end of the world will put him out of his misery. Willow tries to tell him that he'll adjust to their way of living, but he tells them that their lives are pathetic, and that Buffy would do better if they weren't always in her way. He makes a pretty persuasive argument, and clearly hurts their feelings.
But he doesn't hold his head.
Yeah, so I guess we found out a little bit more about how that implant works.
Yeah.
And he ends up walking off smirking.
Giles has discovered that the word of Valios is actually a talisman, which he happens to have right in a chest within 10 feet of his current position.
And of course, right as he finds it, he is attacked by a bunch of demons.
Who are also within 10 feet of his current position.
When the others get there, they find Giles all scratched and beaten up.
And not dead for some reason.
And he tells them the demons are going to open the Hellmouth under the library at the old high school.
So they go to the old high school, and it hasn't been knocked down or cleaned up or anything, and there are even pieces of the mayor still lying around.
Which I kind of liked, that they encountered a piece of the mayor. I thought that was funny. Some good world building.
But you would have thought that after those events, the whole country, the whole world, would be massing on that high school.
Yes. When they reach what used to be the library, they see the demons standing around chanting.
Buffy charges in, apparently not understanding the element of surprise.
And while she fights the demons, Xander and Willow grab the items they need for the ritual.
One of the demons willingly jumps into the Hellmouth, and Xander determines that the sacrifice part of the ritual is the demons themselves.
Another one of the demons attacks Spike, and he's surprised to find that he can fight them without feeling pain. Before the others can stop him, he throws the second demon into the crack in the ground, setting off an earthquake.
Buffy's fighting the last demon when Riley shows up, alone for some reason, even though he said he was going to get help.
And they both fight the demon, but it manages to grab the word of Valios and jump into the hole. Buffy goes to follow, but first Riley attaches a line to her so he can pull her back out.
I was impressed he was able to grab onto that fast-moving cable without burning the skin off of his hands.
Yeah. And even though Buffy and the demon are both just falling through space, she somehow manages to catch up to it and grab it, and Riley pulls them both out. The demon seems to pass out, and the crisis is apparently averted.
Yeah, I like that you said seems to pass out, because it could have just been faking it, throwing itself right back in again.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was supposed to have died or what.
They just leave it sitting right next to the hole. The gang is surprised to see Riley, who attempts to explain what he's doing there, very poorly, while Spike tries to avoid being recognized.
By using a fake American accent, which is funny given that James Marsters is American in real life.
And they all just kind of shuffle out of the room to end the scene.
The next day, Riley is moping in his room.
With the dumbest poster I've ever seen. It just said balls, and it had all the balls, and I thought they would be cleverly labeled, but they weren't. It legit said basketball, tennis ball. So Riley is not very smart, apparently, if he needs a visual aid like that.
Buffy shows up, and Riley says he's going to be in trouble because everyone is finding out his secret. But Buffy says it'll be fine, and starts making out with him.
Meanwhile, Spike has been reinvigorated with the discovery that he can beat up demons, and he urges Willow and Xander to get out there to fight evil with him.
And he's disappointed when they don't respond. Doomed, overall.
Okay, so we have another episode where Buffy knows something, and that something is something the gang has been trying to figure out for quite a while, but she won't tell them, despite having no real reason not to, and instead works to actively delay their investigation. What a great idea, again for the 1000th time. And even though Riley said, "Don't tell anybody I'm a commando," I'm pretty sure he meant people who don't do all the shit that the gang does every week. At first, Riley's points made sense in his arguments with Buffy about why they could be in a relationship, but then he went from trying to convince her to seeing his point of view into trying to force her to see his point of view. It was way too much. But then it didn't really matter anyway, because he showed up to punch a demon a couple of times, which completely changed Buffy's mind, so now they're together. I'm glad that drama is out of the way, and they'll have a completely happy and content relationship from now on. The whole joke about Spike shrinking his clothes in the laundry was a dumb joke, but it did make me wonder. Spike wears normal clothes. They're not fancy vampire clothes or anything. And if he doesn't know how to do laundry, how does he normally get his clothes clean?
I thought about that too.
Good. Okay, good.
Does he never wash his clothes, is what I was thinking, is he's always just wearing dirty clothes?
But he doesn't look dirty all of the time. So my other thought was maybe he just robs the same store over and over again to get the same outfit.
Yeah.
And I never look at James Marsters and think, yeah, this guy would be good at physical comedy. But he is. This is not the first episode when he's been very humorous. I enjoy those scenes, even though in reality, there is no reason for the other characters to keep him around. So I'm glad they gave his character something to get him out of moping mode, even though I suspect the explanation for him being able to hurt demons will be stupid or just never explained. The trio of him, Willow, and Xander has potential, way more than just Willow and Xander alone, so I'm interested to see if they do anything with that, because Spike is a strong character, and the other two, not so much. Willow was, but she's kind of backslid a little bit.
Yeah.
And the Hellmouth has been sitting there this whole time, just out in the open, totally exposed. That seems like something that should have been addressed. And this is the first time any demons have tried to do anything with that Hellmouth. That doesn't seem very plausible. And at the end, they just walked away from it again, and they left the freaking demon sitting next to the hole. So that leaves the option of any other demons using it completely open, which is really stupid. Buffy's stupid drama dragged my grade down, but the emergence of Spike and his new character arc brought it back up, so I gave this one a B.
Okay. I give it a B-. This was another episode that I didn't hate. I doubted everyone after how bad seasons 2 and 3 were, but maybe some of you guys were right. It's still too early to really say, but at this point I would say there has definitely been a distinct upward shift in quality. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree.
The integration of the humor is a big part of what has made the show better, and that has continued here.
I watched Spike hitting that table probably 10 times in a row.
The actual story with the impending apocalypse had me intrigued for the first half, but it ended up not really going anywhere, and we never really found out anything about the demons that were trying to bring it about. And now that it's done with, it basically didn't even matter that it happened, so that was disappointing. The Buffy Riley stuff wasn't as bad as a lot of what we've seen before, but it still felt pretty contrived. And I'm glad they seemingly got done with it by the end of the episode, although like you implied, I'm sure it'll pop up again soon enough. The Willow dumb jock subplot was so underdeveloped that I wonder if that's going to pop up again next episode. I hope not, because that was pretty dumb too.
Do you mean with him specifically?
Yeah, she seems to be developing a new insecurity.
I thought it was just a little last remnant of Oz being gone.
Maybe. The stuff that Spike was saying about Willow and Xander was a much more substantial reason for them to be upset. I'm glad they had Spike find out he could hurt demons, because him talking about not being a threat anymore really made it clear that his part in the show doesn't really make sense right now. Again, I'm glad he's there, but it doesn't really make sense for his character, and it doesn't make sense for the other characters. Overall, I thought this was not a great episode, but I did enjoy it, which is reason enough to be happy at this point.